Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly as we hear from Jon and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rewind-A-Dynamite, a special edition, just because I'm dubbing it a special edition. Hello and welcome to the show. I am joined, as always, by Wai Ting.
Very special. Yeah, they're all special. What do you mean?
Each one is special. Special
Always.
edition this, special edition that. They're all special. No one ever promotes normal edition tonight.
They should.
They could. Well, tonight's show brought to you once again by Peppermint Tea.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Peppermint tea.
Can't go wrong with peppermint.
Do you change up the teas?
Yes, I do.
What are the go-tos?
I really like that David's Tea place a lot. They go all experimental with different flavors.
Well, they got like 50 different teas.
Yeah, you can go all over the place.
David really knows his tea.
Yeah, David, it's David's Tea. So,
Yeah.
Of course, yes. As I think about it, it's usually a peppermint variation. That is my standard go-to. But tea to me is very interchangeable. I'll try any flavor. I'm not opposed to any.
Black, straight, like you don't
Straight
put
usually.
stuff in it?
I usually don't put anything in it. No,
Yeah.
just have it straight. You?
When I drink tea, it's usually like green tea, so I don't really
Green
add.
tea is wonderful. Green tea goes with everything.
It kind of does, yeah. Have you ever had cold green tea?
Nope.
It's pretty good.
I always heard that like cold tea, if you ordered cold tea, that was like a code word for booze after hours.
Could be, yeah.
But not cold green tea.
Well, I make it at home, so
Now wait, when
doesn't
you're
really work.
drinking, when you make cold green tea, does that mean you made green tea and forgot about it for an hour and then it is thus cold green tea?
I would deliberately actually put it in the fridge.
You're also like a cold coffee drinker, and I've never crossed that threshold. I've never been able to really partake in that. Like, no, I don't judge, but it's just
Try it, man. Live a little.
it's not for
Cold,
me.
hot. Come on, you got to be adaptable.
It's almost like it's milk. It's milk at that point with like some flavor to it. Flavored
It's
milk.
not milk.
That's kind of what it is.
No.
Well, how is everything?
Very well.
You're here again.
I'm here again. This is a live edition, in case you couldn't tell by this very special edition type of banter. I'm here in person because I guess let's allow people to peek behind the curtain a little bit. We usually record these via Skype, but I don't, in my current living situation, which I'm actually about to move out of, my recording room is right next to the bathroom. So the bathroom is basically unusable during recording hours for me because every little noise can be heard essentially through the wall that's shared with the recording room. And therefore, a flush of a toilet would be really audible. Certainly a shower would be really audible. And my girlfriend, or my fiance at this point, everybody.
What?
She went to the Raptors game. And
This is breaking news. She went to the Raptors game?
The Raptors, yeah,
Oh
breaking
my gosh,
news, everybody.
That's the headline.
The Raptors made a new franchise record for their winning streak, I believe.
Oh, did they?
Raptors franchise record. Yeah, let me just see this. Okay. The Raptors had won 11 games in a row 3 times previously from blah, blah, blah. The Raptors streak is one of the longest. Okay, maybe this is not a... Wait a second. Yeah, new franchise record with the 12th straight win in a wild rally against the Pacers. Anyway, she was at
the same week that John Jones could beat George St. Pierre's record for most wins in a title fight, where he is tied right now, he could beat the record on Saturday. So the Raptors and John Jones might pull this off in the same week.
They did tie that perfectly well.
So
together.
good for one Canadian, bad for another team.
Okay.
Vice versa.
I guess so, yes. But anyway, so like she's set to be back anytime during this recording, which means that
You both have crazy hours. I don't know where it all intersects. Like she's coming home.
So
late,
in order to facilitate the freedom of the bathroom, I am here at the post office to record live in person with John Pollock. So thank you, John, for opening up the post office.
Well, thank you for
after hours.
Thank you for addressing this problem and just going out and buying a new place altogether, just to avoid this problem. I mean, I'm sure that was the root cause of this whole this whole change, this whole move that you are undergoing this weekend.
Impetus, yeah.
Do you need any help moving this weekend?
I think I should be okay, actually. We don't have a ton of stuff, and I think we've got already more people than we need. So,
well, that's good.
Thank
I
you.
did help you out on several moves ago. I remember
You have, yeah. Thank you.
It was the day after UFC 201.
You helped move a good life out of my condo to.
I know we've talked about that story, but when I did not really go over to your place all that often. You were with a roommate at the time, and Wai and this guy, you guys were preparing for to audition for Pumping Iron or something, because the amount of weights you had that all had to come down from what floor were you on? The 20th?
We were on the 8th floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
It felt like 20 by pound number 200 that we were lifting down there, but it was whatever happened with all those? Because those did not go to your current place.
No. So it was like a power rack. It was that's when I was really kind of starting to get into lifting, and unfortunately that relationship had to be cut short because we were essentially evicted out of our place because our place was being sold. Anyway, so now that stuff sits in my roommate's room. My roommate moved back to his parents' house, and his room really is not bigger than this. So that whole
and half
thing,
of it is weights.
That whole thing is just in there. It's mostly the weights are right next to the bed. He steps out of bed and he's inside this power cage. So he loves it though. Anyway,
he's got to be in ridiculous shape. If it almost sounds like prison, what you're describing. That's what it does sound like.
Once you have your gym right next to your bed, you really have to come up with there really are no more excuses to not go to the gym, right?
Yeah.
You live in the gym at that point.
I always figured that would be the ultimate, me getting in shape is if I went to prison for a year or two. I think I would get in really good shape in there.
See, we say that. I'd probably
just read a book the whole time there.
Probably just I don't know, whatever they do, watch TV or play checkers, chess, backgammon,
the essentials in prison. Yeah. That's what television tells me. Backgammon tournaments. Yeah. All right. We actually do have quite a lot to get into. So we are, good luck with the move.
Thank you very much. In celebration, actually, John, I'd like to give something away. It's been a while. I don't know if you realize. We
totally didn't do this last week.
We totally haven't done it for the past month, and I apologize because we've been out of the country. I haven't actually been in a position to really send much mail out over the past month, so apologies to everybody. But usually, and let's start this back up right now, we give out an item of your choice from the Post Wrestling store, store.postwrestling.com.
Which is where you can get all your Post Wrestling merchandise. It helps support the site. Some great designs up there. It is toque season.
It is toque season.
Or beanie, depending on your preference.
It's baseball cap season as well. Get ready for the summer, everybody.
Those are badass baseball caps.
Just around the corner. You can look like Braden Harrington. Who wouldn't want to achieve that? I want to thank, actually, somebody who bought something from the store today. I want to thank Andrew Dean for making a purchase. Thank you for buying a shirt, Andrew. You have great taste. But you can also join the ranks yourself if you're a patron of Post Wrestling, because every week on this show we give out an item of your choice from store.postwrestling.com to a very lucky patron who may or may not be listening. Either way, they will find out. So John, shall we? Keep it up. It's still loading.
All you have to do is join the Post Wrestling Cafe, and you are automatically entered in this draw every Wednesday to win an item from store.postwrestling.com. And if you help support the store or join the cafe, you can help get Wai a faster laptop. Still loading, huh?
Still loading,
wow,
dude.
That is really slow.
This thing. It's Patreon, really. It's not me. But okay. Congratulations goes out to Brent Lockman from Toronto, Ontario.
Oh, that's an easy delivery.
Yes, it is. Would you like to hand deliver this one?
Nope, but if Brent so desires, I'm sure we could Uber it over to him.
Congratulations, Brent Lockman. I will be in contact with you. And store.postwrestling.com is where you can get your merch, and patreon.com/postwrestling is where you can join and enter.
And those that are members of the Post Wrestling Cafe, you are going to have the chance to listen to the Cafe Hangout live Thursday at 3, which is going to be a very big show, going through the whole earnings report, the investors call afterward, and Brandon Thurston will be with us from WrestleNomics. So that's going to be a really fun show, and we'll be opening up the phone lines as well for patrons. Friday night, it's Wai Ting going through Rewind to SmackDown, and will take us through the show from San Jose with Bill Goldberg on the show, setting up his program. And then coming this weekend, we've got the UFC 247 post show. That's a free show with myself and Phil Chertok. Sunday morning, Thunderstruck with WH Park. He is going to be joined by... I need that schedule in front of me.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Wai will get it.
Yes.
I'm getting bad at this game at my old age. And then Sunday night, Wai and I will have a bonus show for all patrons as we are going to be going through the New Beginning in Osaka card. Nate Milton, it's Liger versus Pillman from the first episode of Monday Nitro in 1995. Can't forget about Brother Nate, who also will be back with us next Tuesday night for patrons. It's the return of the MCU reviews with Black Panther. So if you're joining the cafe, lots of bonus shows over, well, really the whole month, but especially this week with more than usual.
No better time to join at the beginning of the month like like this is right now. So yes, postwrestling.com or postwrestlingcafe.com.
Maximize your value. Yes. Okay, some news items to get to, quite a few actually. So AEW has confirmed, no surprise here, that Double or Nothing will take place once again from the MGM Grand Garden Arena over Memorial Day weekend on Saturday, May the 23rd, and, you know, going to the same location now for their tentpole events. I think everyone expects All Out will be at the Sears Center again in Chicago over Labor Day weekend. And I guess the interesting question will be, with tickets going on sale a week from Friday, what kind of demand is there going to be compared to last year, where this thing was, you had to fight to get a ticket?
We're certainly in a different time when it comes to AEW, where, you know, at that time, that was one of the only times you'd be able to see this group of people. But now that they're touring all across the U.S., is demand going to lessen? You know, we don't exactly know what matches will be at this event yet. So
I think it's an automatic sellout.
You think so, eh?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, could very well be. I mean, Vegas is still very much a destination.
They just did 10,000 tickets for that Dynamite in Newark, New Jersey. So it seems that the Northeast, and for big pay-per-views, I think this one is going to be another... I don't know if it'll have the same level of demand as last year's show.
Have they run much in Southern California, that area yet?
They've had... For Dynamite, no. They have not gone there yet.
Okay, well, I could see that attracting a number of people from California.
They haven't gone to California off the top of my head. I don't
believe so.
They've made their way
Could
there.
be wrong, everybody.
So... that's the news on Double or Nothing, and during the show we'll get into the announcements about they have plotted out matches over the next several weeks that we'll get into. Raw on Monday night, it was down 10% this week. This was following last week's show coming off the Rumble. 2,168,000 viewers. They were down double digits in almost all of their key demos, down 12% among 18 to 49. They were hit among people 25 to 54, down 16.5%. So a big decrease in the audience this week. The one that held up the best was females 12 to 34 that only had a 3% drop, but the majority, it was double-digit drops this week. And I don't know if it is just simply, I would think for Monday night, the big viewership, it was on the cable news outlets that were following the delayed Iowa caucuses. Have you been following that?
No.
What a shit show that's been. But yeah, not a great number for Raw in Mania season when football's gone. It's in the rearview mirror, and I think it's at a time when I feel the program has momentum at the moment. I think like a lot of they're doing a lot of stuff building towards Mania. I'm feeling some characters getting heated up. So this was a disappointing number because I don't think it should have been down 10% this week.
Quality of the show has increased compared to, I suppose, last year when it was really bad, but perhaps still not enough to get people to tune in. Yeah,
we'll see, I guess, when they make a big deal out of Edge's next return, because that's kind of the big thing they have to play at the moment.
Didn't mean much, though, when he showed up last week.
Wasn't a huge post-Rumble Raw, yeah, and that was a big deal coming out of the Rumble, and yeah, it was not necessarily reflected in the number. WWE has confirmed the signings of Killer Kross and Timothy Thatcher. We had Timothy Thatcher. It was reported by Squared Circle Sirens early on Tuesday, and then they announced it on WWE Backstage, along with the addition of Killer Kross, who I guess had been rumored to be coming in. Both have reported to the Performance Center, and I guess two interesting cases as well. Timothy Thatcher is one of those names that he had just never shown much of an interest in going to WWE. Mm-hmm. He is 36 now. I don't know what he is necessarily looking for in his career, but for some performers, when they get to a certain age, it's, well, if I've got an attractive offer, now's the time to go. With Killer Kross, he's going to be a very intriguing one to see where is this guy in 6 to 8 months, because he has enormous potential, but also 34. Like, he got into this late. So time is not necessarily, you don't want to be one of those guys just stuck at the PC for 6 months getting onto TV.
34 is not that old. Come on.
Well,
we're 35.
Well, we're old.
Yeah,
we don't have much time left either.
I would say two signings that I think elicited a pretty big reactions online. I think Killer Kross to me was expected. If it wasn't WWE, would have been AEW, but with his girlfriend being in NXT, I think this one made more sense. And I see big things for him. I think he fits really well within that system. He's got the size for it. In NXT, he's already going to clearly stand out, but he's somebody who I could see Vince McMahon really liking on the main roster. Good promo, good character stuff. So I think they'll push him really hard.
My concern about Kross, and maybe it's just, he is someone that you can see he's been hands-on with, like, his promos, videos, and putting that out. Mm-hmm. And now you kind of take a hands-off approach, and it's left to the company at that point.
I would say less so in NXT. Like, if he's working with that Performance Center crew, I think if they've seen his previous stuff, if they know why they're hiring this guy, I feel like he would have a decent amount of, input.
It's a good point. It's not analogous to Matt Hardy on the main roster, where Matt Hardy comes in and, we saw how he struggled, I think, to get his ideas across. I think Killer Kross, he's a very smart guy, a great promo. Like, he should be a success wherever he goes. So I really hope this is a great break for him. He had a very frustrating 2019. So This is a fresh start for him.
A bigger surprise was Timothy Thatcher for me. I mean, he wasn't really a name that I even thought was on their radar, but at this point, I suppose everybody's on their radar. But, given the age, I think given the wrestling style, this one to me seems like it might be a bit more of a tougher fit if we're talking about just a pure transition to the main roster. But, if he's a name for that was really just kind of like brought in for either NXT, or the more likely scenario I actually see is him doing something with Imperium and NXT UK. They weren't shy about, or at least Ryan Satin in that segment wasn't shy about, in fact, calling him like former or member of the original Imperium.
Yeah,
like
Ring Conf did not get mentioned.
No. So I could see him working with Walter and maybe bolstering that NXT UK brand.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's a spot.
That is what it means. I mean, you might be able to see him maybe once a month, but I don't know. I could see them certainly looking to acquire new names though to make that NXT UK show a little bit more important.
Well, now that they're on, they at least have an outlet. They're on Paramount Network over there and BT Sport. That it would seem like it's more of a priority now. But I would say, if you're Timothy Thatcher, I think, listen, all guys have to look at it like once you're 36 and you're starting to look at what's, you're probably starting to experience that wear and tear. This is a guy who has been wrestling 15 years, and you look at it that, okay, am I going to be as creatively fulfilled here? Maybe not, but this is a chance to at least make some good money as a guy that, probably hasn't been banking a retirement based on 15 years of working on the independents. So, guys are going to reach that point in their career, and WWE becomes a nice option at that time in your career. So we'll see what the future holds for Timothy Thatcher. He's a guy, he's always been a divisive figure among fans. I've always been a big fan of his. I really like that style of his quite a bit. It's, to me, one of the toughest styles to imagine acclimating well to WWE, but I think it is. Being in NXT or NXT UK, I think you can acclimate more so than if this guy, I wouldn't give this guy a prayer if he were showing up on SmackDown or something. But, the jury is out on where Timothy Thatcher lands here. I wanted to talk a bit about ESPN Plus because Disney held they had their updated reporting figures for Disney Plus and by extension ESPN Plus, and these are some unbelievable statistics here that they have released. So at the end of 2018, ESPN Plus was at 1.4 million subscribers. By the end of 2019, they were at 6.6, and they since updated that on their conference call that by as of this past Monday, they're up to 7.6 million subscribers and attribute 500,000 new subscribers signing up for UFC 246 with Conor McGregor and Donald Cerrone, which has broken the all-time streaming record where they said that card got approximately 1 million buys, beating out the Logan Paul KSI fight, which was on YouTube for much less. That was like a $10 fight. This, you had to spend... I know on ESPN Plus, they were doing the free trial. You could get a free trial for a week, and I think that's still in place. We don't get ESPN Plus in Canada. But then you have to spend $65 on top of that as well. So it's a major commitment. Like this was... Dave Meltzer had the whole breakdown of the figures on MMA fighting. Like just from the ESPN Plus portion, that's $70 million of revenue.
Wow, that's incredible.
For 1 million buys. In a universe of 7.6 million. Like that's unbelievable.
I mean, tells you the importance of Conor McGregor still to this day, you know. I mean,
like he is the golden child on ESPN Plus.
I guess the record has to be somewhat strong, but like even if it's not a perfect record, it really does not matter with the guy of this level of star power. He would like, is he the Mandalorian of ESPN Plus?
I mean, they're hoping he's going to be
the Baby Yoda of ESPN Plus.
I don't know if he is the Baby Yoda, but they're hoping that he's going to be an episodic series in 2020 and not just a stand-up special.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. No, it's
and his stand-up looked very good in that fight, actually.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, you know, the ESPN deal, I suppose, with UFC is at this point clearly working out.
Like, think about that. Had UFC done 2 buys for this pay-per-view, they're still getting a gigantic amount every month from ESPN. Mm-hmm. We don't know what that figure is, but they're getting a set amount anyway. Yeah. And then they're doing on top of this, like these two sides have to be just like in love with one another. For the UFC is building ESPN Plus. It's not the only factor. The bundling with Disney Plus and Hulu greatly helped ESPN Plus, but UFC is definitely assisting.
And I think if you're Conor McGregor, you're seeing these numbers and it's red panning out again because you have that much more power, that much more proof behind anything that you want.
Well, now that you've done this number, it's interesting because we were talking about the fact that with this guaranteed revenue, UFC isn't at the mercy of Conor McGregor. Like, it's nice to have this, but we don't need it. Now that you post this, that expectation is there the next time Conor fights. And Conor's going to want his slice of the pie, seeing these stats. When he fought Khabib, which did 2.4 million buys, that was, of that 2.4 million, 500,000 were streaming buys. This one, 1 million streaming buys. So just look at how that has changed.
So at that point,
that was pre-ESPN Plus.
Okay, right.
That was when they were on regular pay-per-view.
Yeah, this is when you had to stream. Basically.
In the U.S., yes. Right. Yeah. So, and that figure, that's not including like what we had to pay in Canada or anywhere else that offered this on traditional pay-per-view. So just a monstrous fight for UFC 246, which I really don't sense for UFC 247 this weekend with Jon Jones and Dominic Reyes and Valentina Shevchenko and Caitlin Chukagian.
Who would you say is next in line to potentially reach that level?
Oh, at this level, it's...
Nobody on the horizon.
I mean, I'm interested to see what Nurmagomedov does with Tony Ferguson because Nurmagomedov has been... I mean, he was part of that huge fight with Conor McGregor, but it's not like you heard big things about his fight with Dustin Poirier in September, which was an ESPN Plus fight. I think he does do business, but nothing in this realm. I'm thinking you're looking at Conor's next opponent, and beyond that, like Jorge Masvidal is not doing this with Kamaru Usman. I don't think that Masvidal and Nate Diaz, like they were on ESPN Plus. I mean, we didn't hear... Like, I think Conor is the only one that's going to be doing this.
Gotta get level. Logan Paul in the UFC.
Hey, man, they're he could end up in Bellator. It's possible.
Seriously?
It's both him and his brother that are like fighting now.
Jesus Christ.
That's kind of DAZN's like model that they're going around, like the celebrity boxing gimmick. So huge numbers here that they did for that. Ring of Honor has added this huge match to Supercard of Honor. It's going to be for their 6-man tag titles with the champions Bandito, Flamita, and Rey Horus versus Will Ospreay, Amazing Red, and Rocky Romero.
No way. Wow.
That's a hell of a 6-man right there.
So much for that retirement, hey?
Amazing Red. I mean,
every week, this
more
guy.
Now than ever.
Yeah. Good for him.
If you remember last year's WrestleMania in New Jersey, he pulled out ahead of WrestleMania week where he was scheduled to wrestle for House of Glory, stating like, my neck is damaged. I'm not even doing WrestleMania week. And now look at this. It's like been his revival. I mean,
that's great.
No, if the bookings are coming, good for this guy. I'm glad that he's getting paydays now. So that's a huge match for Supercard of Honor. And the last big one, we have a return date way. Total Bellas. It's moving from Sundays to Thursdays, returning April 9th, right after WrestleMania.
I like it. I'm a big fan of this move. Thursdays, for me at least, is a wrestling-free evening, so I can slot this in perfectly into my schedule.
Last year, Total Bellas on Sunday nights, they were doing 436,000 viewers on that season. The Miz and Mrs. we got to see last week following NXT, their audience plummeted, not following SmackDown on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So, and it was interesting. Tonight, NXT did have an overrun of like 6 or 7 minutes going into Miz and Mrs. And I wonder if part of that was to boost up the Miz and Mrs. number, because last week we got no overrun.
Yeah. Could be that, or do you think it could be, at this point,
maybe trying to help both,
wanting to help
honest.
NXT, compete a bit more than maybe, worrying about the Miz and Mrs. Who knows? But Total Bellas, I don't think has really been at any point piggybacked off of like WWE programming anyway. But if you're jumping from place to place, that might always have an effect. I do feel like there will be added interest for this season, given all the news that's come out recently about the Bellas both getting pregnant at the same time. By the way, the Bellas podcast that came out this week, the two of them detail exactly what's going on, and cameras were following everything. So this season coming up...
How intrusive.
At the same time, though, like the way they describe it, they choose to document themselves for the public, obviously because it's their business, but also because they sense a lot of their fans relating to the stories that they present. And I'm one of the people that finds a lot of their personal lives very interesting. Bree teases that she and Brian will be perhaps going through some marital issues this season and getting into that.
What a tease. Coming up, me and my husband are probably going to have some problems.
If you read the preview of this thing, I mean, you'll know that that's going to happen. Obviously, Artem proposes to Nikki Bella, and then at the end of the season, the both of them find out they're pregnant. So it's going to be a big ride, I feel.
I can see the Bellas getting so much mainstream attention in the lead up to the season premiere because it's such a like daytime interview segment topic. The Bella twins are both pregnant.
Oh my God.
Like I would say every talk show is going to want to have them on together to promote their season.
So that level of buzz, I think, will contribute to, at the very least, steady ratings this season, if not maybe even a slight boost.
Total Bellas does way better than Total Divas, especially since Total Divas like crashed in the last season.
The Bellas are the stars of the whole franchise, clearly.
Yeah. All right. And just coming out of NXT tonight, we do have Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic added to TakeOver Portland. So that show is nuts. With now they have, I guess it's 6 matches they have announced.
Yeah,
I believe. And Velveteen Dream also back on Wednesday's episode as well. They did not close the show with Charlotte. She was put in, I think it was somewhere in the second hour. I wasn't watching NXT, but it wasn't the show closer or the show opener either. Matt Riddle had one of the funniest promos this year.
How did you already watch NXT?
I watched every week. I watch the first half hour of NXT and then I start AEW.
Oh, gotcha.
So I usually catch the first half hour.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. But
it's a good technique.
If Braden and Davey did not label their show, how many fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish? Then they really failed at the naming conventions. What did you think about my names tonight for our show?
I have not seen it yet.
I did too. One was good, and one was just,
okay. Let me take a look.
One
here.
was the main angle I had to use.
So we got Rewind-A-Dynamite for tonight. Then the title, Lash equals Cash.
It kind of sucks.
Britt's Boot Canal.
I was really proud of the second one.
No, the second one's really good.
I was trying for a Lash LaRue pun, but it didn't come. I don't really like the first one, but I figured the main angle we had to have it in the title.
You do great.
You can change it. If people see a different name, that's because we deemed it inappropriate. All right, let's get into the show from Huntsville, Alabama. This crowd was amazing.
Yes, they were.
This was one of the hotter crowds I think AEW has had.
You know, they're always hot.
They are, but this was an extra level. I thought Huntsville was awesome. Just an awesome, awesome crowd at the Von Braun Center, which, for a trivia note, the home of the very first NWA TNA pay-per-view in June of 2002. The Von Braun Center.
That is a very interesting trivia note. Cool.
And then they never went back. Also, were you watching on TSN?
Yes, I was.
So? A lot of XFL ads. They were promoting them during all the breaks that TSN is going to be carrying the games this weekend, and I guess are carrying them throughout the season.
Really, the only type of buzz I've heard about the XFL at all.
I'm probably going to watch some of it this weekend. I'm kind of curious to watch the XFL.
I won't really have time, but I'll be curious to know perhaps what Vince McMahon elements might be on. You know,
probably zero.
Yeah, you think so, eh?
We didn't talk about that Monday. Did it surprise you? Not a mention on Raw.
At this point, not really. You know, the fact that I think this entire lead up, there's been zero mention.
How about Friday, given it's on Fox, who are carrying games?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that will be interesting. But how much of it do you think is them being, you know, extra cautious, given like there's a lawsuit going on?
I'm surprised that they would have nothing. It could very well be that they're just scared off by having any association with it, but it's just surprising to me that we got nothing. And I would be surprised if Fox doesn't, because on Fox there's a vested interest, unlike USA Network,
right? That
I would expect something on Friday.
You would have still expected it last week, though. Nothing last week either.
You know what I think was a big miss on WWE and Fox's part is that during the Super Bowl, there were mentions of SmackDown. To me, they should have promoted Bill Goldberg, like have something to target people with. I'm not saying he's the most well-known name, but for an audience that maybe is very lapsed, Bill Goldberg returning on this week's show on Fox, it's a hook that beyond just saying, hey, SmackDown's on every Friday night. When he said this Friday, the legendary Bill Goldberg is on SmackDown. I think that would have been the time to really promote that instead of waiting till the next night on Raw.
Yeah, I didn't really see the integration on SmackDown. I mean, I know like Sasha, Roman were on. Maybe they wanted to promote their own guys.
Yeah, they were on the pregame. I just thought, like, if you knew that's coming up, like, there's a name that, you know, for an audience member who maybe has not watched wrestling in, you know, a generation, that's one of the few names, and you've got him on Friday. So, into Wednesday night's show, and Jon Moxley starts off the show coming through the crowd, and he has upgraded his eye patch in preparation for his Minoru Suzuki match this weekend. He clearly took to heart his problems over the weekend at the New Beginning shows, and this looks like a much better patch to work with.
This weekend was a good test run for Jon Moxley and his eye patch.
Yep. Maybe that's why he agreed to these tag matches, to try it out.
I don't know if he foresaw it, but, you know.
Clearly, foresight was a problem.
That's right. You know, this new eye patch is almost like he's wearing like a thong on his head.
It's probably less intrusive.
You would hope so. I hope so.
And it's amazing that Santana was able to find the exact same one later in the night.
His was, I would say, more, I think, a bandage.
They look the same to me.
Yeah? Okay. But, you know, I didn't know if Moxley was going to be on the show, given that he's going to be in Japan 2 weekends in a row.
You know, we said that. They did advertise this match last week, and we totally blanked on it.
They did?
Yeah, they did announce this match last week.
Well, nonetheless,
but I forgot.
I mean, the dude flying back and forth, probably with that fucking eye patch on the whole time.
I bet this guy does wear it on the airplane, too.
I bet you he does, too. And I'm sure he's loving every second of it. Like, he just seems to be having the most fun of his entire career right now.
So it's Jon Moxley and Ortiz. Jon Moxley was so over with this crowd. And then the Inner Circle comes out and Jericho joins commentary. And again, I really enjoy Jim Ross with Chris Jericho. I think they really bring out the best in one another. Jericho has also got a Le Champion bandana around his neck. After wearing the Puerto Rican flag last week, he's got They
just merchandise.
Dude, Jericho
everything.
just sees dollar signs on everything. He is the Gene Simmons of professional wrestling at this point. And crowd again sings his song. What did you think about their ability to keep up?
You know, I would say this week at least a number of fans memorized all the lyrics to the song, and the camera made sure to focus on every single one of them, all three of them, who at least the camera was able to catch, knew every single word. I would say it was pretty audible, but, you know, it's not like they were really forcing it either. I think if it happens organically. If it doesn't, then let it be.
Jim Ross compared Ortiz to Pampero Firpo, which was awesome. The referee got distracted where Santana tripped up Moxley, and Jericho is adding the information that this is not a gimmick. Santana and Ortiz are real street thugs. And the crowd is chanting, Ortiz sucks. Ortiz rubs his forearm into Moxley's injured eye. Ortiz did a dive through the ropes, and Jericho is saying, I brought Moxley to AEW. I should have let him languish. And Ortiz runs into Santana, paradigm shift, place goes nuts, and he catches him and wins in 7:46. Jericho is furious. And then Santana goes to attack him. He gets hit with the paradigm shift. Everyone's chanting Moxley, and Moxley pulls out the car keys that he's been holding on to, and he yells, an eye for an eye, and he stabs Santana in the eye. Jericho is losing it. Moxley leaves through the crowd. They were red hot as the Inner Circle then tends to the one-eyed Santana. Great start to the show.
Great start to the show. I mean, the match itself I thought was good, but I thought it was absolutely elevated because of how great this crowd was.
Yes.
This was a crowd that, like, I mean, Moxley, I think in general feels like he's a babyface that is truly loved by every audience that he's in front of, at least with AEW. You know, he's not somebody that the company is trying to force down people's throats. It's a completely deserved push, and he's getting a completely deserved reaction. Like, it absolutely is working so well. I thought Ortiz was really good here too. He's very charismatic. His wrestling style is very entertaining. I think he's like kind of quietly becoming like a standout performer, at least on the heel side of things. I like the angle at the end a lot. This could have just been like, you know, a match like Jon Moxley beats Ortiz and then you move on to the next week. But the fact that they had an angle coming out of it with Moxley taking the Santana's eye out, at least leaving some sort of lasting effect on the characters, rewards me for investing my time into the program. You know, now next time I tune into the show, I know why Santana will have an eye patch. It almost made this episode required viewing if you wanted the full story.
Yeah, and it seems like they're having Moxley go through each one, which would mean probably a Jake Hager match before Revolution.
You think so?
Wow. I mean,
do you think he
faced Guevara.
But do you think he beats Hager though? Like,
no, I think they'll protect him. I don't know. I don't know, though. I mean, Moxley is the guy going to challenge for the title, but the fact that they have protected Hager so much, I think that's a match that does mean something now that you could do in Atlanta or the go-home week. I would do that in Atlanta.
I almost feel like you save Hager for afterwards. Because
they could.
So well protected. Jericho has taken pinfall losses, but Hager hasn't.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, next week he's gone through the other ones, with the exception of Hager and Santana next week. The Best Friends versus Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. They have these new foam thumbs for Orange Cassidy, which are brilliant.
Early contender for best merch of 2020.
Unless Matt Riddle puts out a shirt for the Bobby Fish tongue twister. That will top the thumbs, I think.
Because it's, yes.
Matt Riddle would have got called to the assembly if he had that tongue twister to present.
I haven't seen NXT yet, so.
You have to watch this. Dude, you'll howl.
Is the fact that Matt Riddle is the person saying this?
Dude, he got the crowd to chant it.
Oh my goodness.
It was awesome. Wow. It was really good.
Okay.
Kazarian and Trent are lighting each other up with chops. We go to the floor, and it's a sequence of everyone getting knocked down after Trent gets thrown into the guardrail, spears down Scorpio Sky. Kazarian hits a lot of German suplexes on the floor tonight. And then Chucky with a neck breaker. So as all four men are down, Orange Cassidy just walks by the bodies and he lays down to send us to commercial. And then we had Trent selling his neck. The Best Friends hit a soul food half and half combination to Kazarian, and they hug for the huge pop, except for Jim Ross, who was not approving of this hug in the middle of the match. Strong Zero gets stopped by Scorpio Sky, and Kazarian then executes a code red after Scorpio Sky hits a running kick to Trent, setting up the move, and Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian get the fall, and Jim Ross blames it on that mid-match hug. Cost them the match. Man. And SCU get the win, and well, we'll see what that sets up for them later on.
Good match, I thought. Crowd was much more responsive to this week's SCU match than their match with the Hybrid 2 last week, and I think that just tells you maybe how valuable and how over the best friends are right now.
Even though they don't get many wins, but it's an overact.
The act is over, and I mean, especially Orange Cassidy, who, like, Cassidy still just kind of continues to play this sort of, I don't even want to call him a manager, but like he's just around the ringside and he gets his spots in. They haven't overexposed him yet. And I feel like that's really good for him because I feel like we all recognize that there might be a shelf life to a gimmick like this if you put him front and center, main eventing, every single week or something like that. Whether it's deliberate or not, I think them holding him back is a really good thing. He's satisfying at this level. I don't necessarily see, like, we're going to see if the internet went crazy when Janella announced like his match against Suzuki, but that's like a one-off special event thing. I think for an AEW TV show and an AEW audience, he's at the right level right now. And I think when the time comes for him to actually be in a program, then you do it organically.
What is going to be the better match, Suzuki and Orange Cassidy or Suzuki and Jon Moxley on the weekend?
Man, I'm looking forward to both of them so much. They're so different. They're so wildly different. I think if you're looking for a hard-hitting, like strong style type of match, I mean, Orange Cassidy, of course, yeah.
The Dark Order run in, they attack all four people, and then they line up, and Orange Cassidy stands up behind them as the crowd chants freshly squeezed, and he is offered a mask to join the Dark Order. And he just puts his hands in the air and into the pocket, and they jump him. And this leads to Christopher Daniels running back. The Dark Order just backs off, and Daniels is challenging them to come after him. I mean, they're playing it very over the top that I think everyone is expecting Daniels to join them, that maybe that's going to be the swerve, that he's not joining them, because this was so overt that it just seems too much.
It was exactly like, like the Ruby Riott angle. Like you were waiting for Daniels to turn on Cassidy when he came out here. But,
sorry, I'm picturing Liv Morgan now as Orange Cassidy, like the female version.
Right. But, I think they're playing sort of with that psychology a lot. It seems like it's operating on a more deeper level, I suppose, with more of a...
Whose contract is up? This is very much a storyline in flux of who's going to be the exalted one.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, actually. Who knows at this point? What do you think? Rebby was, like, tweeting stuff out tonight about, like, she tweeted...
I saw what she tweeted about Nancy Pelosi tearing up the speech compared to Matt's ideas he submitted.
Being torn up by Vince or the WWE. Who knows what to expect? I mean, I think they know exactly what they're doing when they're tweeting things out. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who this exalted leader is, but I can say that I'm interested.
You are,
Okay. I am, aren't you?
Somewhat. It's not something. I think it's like this big angle, but I think once they get there, the reveal will be something. Especially if it's someone new coming in, like that's always a easy pop. Especially if it's someone of substance. Like if it turns out to be Matt Hardy, that'll be a huge reaction.
And if it's I don't know.
Luke Harper. What do you think would be the reception if it's Luke Harper?
Be kind of cool, but again, I really can't. I have less, perhaps, excitement about him as sort of this like leader
to
role.
Carry that.
I don't
group.
think he's like a big enough star to like but he'll get a big reaction. I think everybody, honestly, at this point, if it was. Everybody wants it to be Matt Hardy. If it's not Matt Hardy, it would be somewhat of a disappointment. Unless it was Minoru Suzuki.
What if it was Josephus?
Yeah, I don't know.
They had so as they're building up, the main event segment was going to be Cody taking the 10 lashes. So throughout the night, we got comments from various personalities, starting with Taz, who said it's going to be uneasy to watch, and Max is taking it too far, but it validates how bad Cody wants him. And I like these. They did a great job of leading up to this and really pushing how violent this was going to be. Like they made this feel like this was going to be uncomfortable viewing.
There were only 2 interviews throughout the show teasing this, and I thought it was pretty strategic who they chose to speak in this fashion. You had Taz here and you had Dustin. Both of them were excellent, I thought. Both felt...
Dustin's one of the most underrated promos
so
anywhere.
But both of them, like, I think when you're talking about a gimmick like this, if you had anybody try to speak in character talking about it, you risk making them sound silly. You risk the angle kind of like being treated as just sort of a wrestling angle. But here you had two very good promo guys, experienced guys who were able to sound serious because like they were about to watch something that was, really bad. In Dustin's case, something that was about to happen to his brother that was really bad.
They made it sound like Cody was going out into the ring to play Russian roulette.
Yeah,
like that was the severity, like that he may not come back from this.
But I like Taz a lot here. I like this was not the Taz from 2002 on a straight to video WWE show.
I've got a belt. I'm going to lash him.
He wasn't joking about cab drivers in New York. This was a serious analytical Taz, and I've enjoyed him from what little I've seen of him on Dark as well.
He was great in this very brief piece as well. Britt Baker, Yuka Sakazaki. It is clear, like Baker. The audience has totally followed the turn and just hated her coming out, and
she's going around the ring making fun of fans' teeth.
This was awesome.
Amazing.
Just analyzing people's teeth and pointing at them. So, Yuka Sakazaki, who they mentioned has not been there since was it the Daily's Place show?
It was one of the either Fighter Fest or Fight for the Fallen. One of the two.
So she hits a seated senton off the top, and then Baker bails to the floor, and Yuka Sakazaki proceeds to hit the magical girl splash, a springboard crossbody to the floor. They go back into the ring.
Excalibur called that one.
Yes, he did. And Jim Ross
reacted to it.
Yes, said that's not just a splash, it's the magical girl splash. Baker in the ring hit a thrust kick, swinging neck breaker for a 2 count, and then she goes for the lockjaw and just pulls at the hair of Sakazaki, just like a little added heel technique here to try and set up her finish. But Yuka counters out of it to a crucifix and catches Baker for the pinfall. A genuine surprise to the audience. At 3:25, Sakazaki gets the win, and Baker comes back in the ring with a ring bell and blasts her with it, and then places her mouth onto the bottom rope like Tomohiro Ishii, and proceeds to stomp on her back, and Yuka just grabs her mouth, and as she comes up, it's all bloody, and there's a tooth there with Baker reapplying the lockjaw, which just looked graphic as hell. And if you go back and watch this, you can see that as soon as the stomp occurs, Aubrey Edwards goes right up to Yuka to put her hands in the mouth, and then they immediately cut away. So I think it was like 2 seconds too late that they got the cutaway, because this was executed pretty well.
Yeah,
I think
I
so.
thought so too.
And it looked awesome.
I thought it was pretty daring, actually, to try to do a broken teeth angle in 2020, and I like the idea. I feel like Yuka's selling of the teeth, I don't know, it didn't completely work for me, to be honest. Some of it felt a little fake looking in execution, but I thought overall it ended up being really good. And I thought Britt Baker in this match was really good. She was very hateable, but very entertaining. And I was really surprised at how much the crowd loved Yuka Sakazaki based off of those few appearances. She, for whatever reason,
she's got a great look.
Left an impression.
Outfit.
Yeah, left an impression on this audience. So the fact that they gave her a big win here over Britt Baker suggests that she'll be sticking around.
Yeah, no, I thought this came across really well. And again, Britt Baker, this has been a tremendous shift for her. The Butcher, the Blade, Pentagon Jr., and Rey Fenix against Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page. If you listen to our Best Of show, I listed Kenny Omega's new theme as my favorite theme in wrestling. Super Kick Party is awful. I hate this theme, dude. It's so goofy.
Well, listen, this
is great for a transition on Being the Elite, but for these four to come out to this campy song,
they can't come out to anything but this. This is what they're known for. This is the song that gave birth to AEW, John. This is the thing that started it all. It's at this point, I would say, a song that just evokes great, I think, nostalgia almost. And it perfectly represents, I think, all the warm feelings everybody has about this group.
They could come out to AC/DC and it would be an upgrade.
Oh, my.
So we get a bunch of triple team spots. So the idea here is that Kenny is working with the Bucks, but Hangman, he is only out there for Kenny. And that would be the only person he would tag with, and was just off to his own in the corner for much of it. Matt did his Northern Lights deal to both Penta and Phoenix, and then they did a deal where Phoenix lifted Matt for a gory bomb while holding up Kenny's legs like the what's up spot with Penta coming off the turnbuckle. And we have Omega counter Butcher with a Rana, and then in comes Page. And man, did this guy get a great reception. Everyone's chanting cowboy shit. He hits a springboard lariat to Phoenix on the apron, and then a Pescado. He's just running wild, and the crowd is electric. Like, he is super over to these crowds. Then the four gang up on Nick Jackson. There's a doomsday device. Matt's save gets stopped with a destroyer out of nowhere from Phoenix. And then Omega's in to deliver snapdragons all around. And there's an assisted sliced bread from Matt onto the Butcher. Butcher then ducks the buckshot lariat. And the Bucks are in to help out Hangman. And from there, Page is not going to tag the Bucks, and instead he goes it alone and ends up getting hit with a Penta driver with the foot stomp from Phoenix. Phoenix takes out Nick and Omega on the floor, allowing Pentagon Jr. to pin Hangman Page. So his selfishness cost him the match, and Excalibur points out after that Page would only tag Omega, and the Elite members all argue, and Omega's trying to play peacemaker here.
Mm-hmm. I thought this match was great.
It was really spectacular.
Match of the night for me. The pace of it was insane. At one point, really, the announcers just kind of give up calling the moves because everything was just beat. Everybody, I thought, looked great. But the standouts for me, obviously Hangman Page for storyline purposes. I think they continue to put that spotlight on him in this entire story, and the results are already there. He is, at this point, the most over guy, at least amongst these four in the Elite right now. The story they've been telling has been simple and I think very effective. In terms of in-ring, Ray Phoenix, to me, like, stood out amongst everybody here. The guy is so fast, yet so graceful. He's absolutely incredible. I also really thought Andy Williams, as, like, the tall powerhouse amongst this crop of, like, you know, essentially cruiserweights, was used very effectively here.
Yeah, I thought the brief time he was in there with Page and with Omega, he got some good focus in this match. But yeah, Phoenix is just outstanding, and him and Pentagon kind of just feel like they're kind of just floating around at the moment.
They don't have a story.
They don't have a story, which they're going to be doing in 2 weeks' time. They're going to be doing the Battle Royal, and the winners get the tag title shot. And I would imagine it comes down to either the Bucks, if you want to do that now, or Pentagon and Phoenix coming out of this tonight.
I do wonder, like, you know, if they did want to craft a story with Penta and Phoenix, how they would be able to do it. I haven't necessarily seen, I guess, the acting ability of a Penta or Phoenix, nor really, like, do I expect much in terms of a promo ability. Can they craft a story? I mean, look, they've got Riho as one of their champions, so they could probably book a story for anybody.
Arn Anderson joins them. Dressed up as Pentagon.
That makes sense, yeah.
Full face paint.
That would.
And instead of the Cerro Miedo, he's got, like, the four.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Writes itself, yeah. So I'd be curious to see how, like, you know, it kind of is about time.
Well,
you know?
They pinned the tag champions here, even in an 8-man,
right.
And I have confidence that they're not just doing that for a trivial reason. I think that should be emphasized, the fact that they did pin Hangman here. So I could see them winning the Battle Royal and holding off on the Bucks for another time. That, to me, feels early to do the Bucks match, but that is kind of, they're certainly teasing that. Tony Schiavone's in the ring after the break with Kenny Omega, and he's immediately interrupted by Pac, who is with Lexi on screen. And he is addressing Kenneth. And he is trying to get his attention. And obviously, Michael Nakazawa must mean nothing to you, because he murdered this guy.
Dude, I totally forgot about that.
Everyone did.
And, like, yeah, Kenny didn't do shit about it.
But he says, but does this person mean nothing to you? And we pan over, and Riho is just standing there.
Yeah, why was she just standing there? She, like, nobody was stopping her from leaving.
No, she was just, maybe she was super glued. Although she did move, so she wasn't super glued. They have never explained the relationship here, which I think
they're just, well, I mean, I think people know that they're friends. Like, Kenny's kind of got his own little side stable with Michael Nakazawa and Riho. Like, at least we've seen them backstage, you know, together. I don't know if they're insinuating anything more than that.
Well, it's, to me, I think it's like a connection that the average viewer, I think it goes over their head.
Sure.
If they're just watching this kind of out of context. He teases that he's going to attack her, but says, I'm a bastard, not a beast, but she is. And in comes Nyla Rose to put Riho through a table. And then Rose says that Rio's ass is hers next week, as we're going to get a rematch from the very first episode of Dynamite where they crowned Rio as the women's champion. So that's announced for next week. And as well, next week we'll have Omega and Paige against Kazarian and Sky for the tag titles in Austin, Texas.
Omega and Paige against Kaz and Sky. Okay. So a rematch.
Yes.
Okay.
From the boat.
Cool. Yes. And also, in 3 weeks later, they would announce a 30-minute Iron Man match between Kenny and...
Yeah, they're going to do that in Kansas City, which is the go-home show for the pay-per-view.
It'll be interesting to see how an Iron Man match performs on TV.
Yeah, typically they have not done well. So that's, to me, it's kind of like a risky match to put on if you're trying to be competitive. But you're getting a super hot match. So I think they're looking at, well, when was the last time an Iron Man match has been put on TV? This is a newer audience that is probably more interested in seeing this 30-minute match, and probably with like limited interruption. Like, I'm sure they're going to just picture that whole 30 minutes.
Sure. And do you do it at the beginning or the end of the show? I think you start off the show with it.
You could. Yeah, it's a hot way to start the show.
You're not competing with the NXT main event at that point. You know, I feel like there's more curiosity. You're more likely to
I wouldn't want to
attract people
end
to
the
start
show with that for when you're going into the pay-per-view.
Right.
I want to end with like a big, either a Cody promo or a Moxley promo going into the pay-per-view. Then we had a video sent in by Darby Allin after his throat injury last week with the skateboard drilled into his larynx, and he's having trouble. He's choking in this video, and we see that cardboard cutout of Jericho and Sammy hugging one another, and the dude pulls out a flamethrower and just disintegrates this thing. This was way cooler than when Triple H did it dressed up as was it Kane?
I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
I think so. Or Goldust. He was dressed up as one of them. Anyway, I thought this was just hilarious.
I mean, clearly this is how this dude spent his weekend. I think I heard him on Observer Radio talking about how like these videos are just all shot by him and his friends, and it's just like they're just hanging out, shooting flamethrowers.
Oh, good for
in their
them.
spare time. It's cool. It's great. And I think he's really lucky to be working in a place like AEW where like a guy who I think is this visually minded is able to like do his own thing and get it broadcast on TNT.
It actually kind of looked cool to watch the flamethrower explode in black and white as opposed to our, what you would typically, see a flame and think, oh, this should be in color.
It looked good.
I thought this looked cool. It was like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But probably Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, whether it be the pay-per-view or something down the road, obviously. And then Kip Sabian and Joey Janela, which unless they announced it at some point today that I missed, this was unannounced.
They might have announced it last week. I mean,
did they?
I could be wrong.
Okay.
Like, didn't feel like it was a complete surprise to me. Did you watch the intergender match from the boat on Dark? So on Dark this week, they aired the intergender match that took place on the Jericho Cruise between Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford versus Kenny Omega and Riho. And the way that they, because they haven't done intergender on TNT before, and so they said that since they were on international waters, they were able to do this. And from what we know, Kenny has been wanting to do intergender matchups on AEW for quite some time, but hasn't necessarily been given the go-ahead yet. So this almost, to me, I mean, clearly felt like it was a test to see how the crowd would react to it, how the audience would react to it. And I guess reception on the boat was so good that they decided to air it on Dark. And it's a match I absolutely would recommend. I thought it was well done. It was fun. It's a match where I actually thought that Penelope Ford was the standout, and she looked fantastic to me. The match happened. The world didn't stand still. I think I'm personally ready for this type of stuff to be on TV, but I guess my feeling is that there still seems to be quite a bit of concern about like presenting this type of wrestling for a mass audience.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it this week. It sounded like it got
a good match,
great reception, and a great place to put it on as well. Like an audience that was going to really dig it probably, and that I think probably enhanced it.
You mentioned, like the lack of real kind of establishing of the Kenny Riho relationship, and this, it's because they haven't necessarily been able to showcase what they're known for, and that's being tag team partners.
So Kip Sabian and Joey Janela At the beginning, they're kicking each other in the back, and then Sabian goes to a choke. Janella gets sent into the steps, followed by Penelope Ford bashing his head in. And Sabian's in control. They go through a break. Janella hits a dive to the floor, and then Sabian goes for a flip to the floor, gets caught and hit with a German suplex to the floor. Back inside the ring, the crowd is chanting for Janella as they have this striking exchange that Ross calls bowling shoe ugly. And Ford gets onto the apron, makes out with Sabian, and then Janella runs at him. Sabian gets out of the way as Janella knocks Ford off the apron, and then Sabian capitalizes by rolling up Janella and grabbing the tights for the victory. So sacrificing Penelope to get the win.
Mm-hmm. Pretty good match, I thought. I think I would have enjoyed it if it was just a few minutes shorter. Perhaps that was also due to where we were at this point in the show. I think I would have just preferred a slightly tighter match. But to me, it feels like this feud continues, doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't sense like it's this hot program.
No, it's not.
It almost feels like Kip Sabian is kind of like the third wheel in this program.
Yeah, he's you need him for the match. He's a very necessary part. And I would say like it's been his biggest program to date in AEW. It's helping him at least establish himself. But I would say they also haven't necessarily done anything that really has like made you feel for Joey. Like I haven't at least felt that much sympathy for him.
Because you don't have the cocky, arrogant asshole who's got Penelope Ford. It's Kip Sabian.
Sabian's sort of like that.
I don't really get that vibe from him.
But because they haven't necessarily done enough, I think, to present that sort of personality. I think a lot of this is just being told to you, hey, these two used to date, and now this guy has this guy's girlfriend, and you're supposed to, boo the guy who stole his girlfriend. I don't think that's enough. Even if you were just to present that story, it's like there's not enough meat there. Not enough, I would say, twisting and turning. Like, I feel really nothing other than the fact that I like Joey Janela. But nothing. What I'm saying is they need a cuck angle.
Or maybe a wedding segment. Maybe we're going to get there on TV.
A wedding segment?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that would work too.
Alex Marvez was with the Inner Circle in the back, and immediately he gets tossed out of the scene. Jericho calls Moxley a piece of trash for jeopardizing the life and career of Santana, who's now got his eye patch on. And Santana took the microphone. He said that he's had the worst year of his life, and Moxley has brought out a side he has never had to bring out before. He spoke of the past 29 years of his life being a struggle, and next week, Moxley, it's eye for an eye.
What was he alluding to when he said he had the worst year of his life?
I don't know.
I mean, from all accounts, I feel like this would be the best year of his life. Got signed to TV.
Probably got the best deal of his career.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe something like, personal happened to him that, like he says, like, it's no secret. I mean, I beg to differ. I have no idea what he is talking about. So I don't know. Please inform me, everybody, what he might be. And what exactly is an eye for an eye match, you think?
Well, they're both down to one eye left. So it's kind of eye for an eye plus an eye.
Right. It's
right?
really
so
two
someone's
eyes.
going to be blind by the end of it.
It'd be really two eyes for one eye.
Maybe it's going to be
it's a half blindfold match.
Maybe you've got to read an eye chart.
That's the match?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be exciting.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. The loser has to wear glasses.
We should not be planning this stipulation match, but it's pretty much explained. It's a grudge match.
At the very least, really, it's just a subtitle of a match.
Lexi was with Hangman Page, and the Jacksons came in. They're upset.
Do you like Lexi?
I don't really have like a strong read on her, positive or negative. I mean, she's like, her segments are pretty much like, she doesn't even do really like setup questions. She was just kind of like holding the microphone. Right. So from what I've seen with her on like Dark and the Road Twos, like, she's fine. And
to be honest, like, for a backstage interviewer, I don't need much more than somebody to just hold the microphone to let the talent speak.
So the Young Bucks come in. They're all pissed off at Hangman, and Matt insinuates that Hangman's got a drinking problem and takes his beer away, and the camera stays on Hangman, who somehow has already got a pitcher in his other hand.
Yeah. got a lot of laughs from
So
the crowd.
people like this. I mean, they're doing a lot of like sight gags that are like really working.
It was a BTE level comedy bit, I would say here.
Yeah.
That I thought really worked well transitioning to TNT.
And they warned him like this Hangman is going to lose the tag titles next week with Kenny when they take on SCU.
Yeah. I'm assuming you completely fast forwarded through it, but in between these two segments was a Dark Order video.
Yep.
And I don't blame you because I only realized it was a Dark Order video halfway through because this looked like just any other American drug commercial.
Oh.
Like it was really well done in that sense where like you can't tell. It was just stock footage, like a voiceover and complete with like small print on the bottom talking about like the Exalted One and the Elite. Really wasn't that like, you know, a big thing that was much more than that. But I thought it was well done. And I would say this one a lot more subtle and not that corny like some previous videos have been.
Okay. Yeah, I totally missed it. So this is where they went over pretty much the next couple of weeks. We mentioned the Riho, Nyla Rose, and SCU Omega Page title matches for next week in Austin, Texas. Then the following week is the big show in Atlanta, which is going to have Cody versus Wardlow in the first cage match in the company's history, along with the tag team battle royal, and the winners get the shot at Revolution. And then in 3 weeks' time, on February 26th in Kansas City, it's the 30-minute Iron Man match between Pac and Kenny Omega. So I really like this idea of just lining up stuff for several weeks.
Yep.
It's like they've been building this Cody Wardlow thing for a month by the time they get there. And it's just like this 30-minute Iron Man match. It's like 3 weeks to promote it. I think this is a really just very simple, but very effective and smart way to promote your TV. And you know, like there's at least one big thing each week that you have to look forward to.
If you're AEW, you're only putting on like 5 pay-per-views a year. You kind of have to make these. I mean, every single TV show for them almost becomes like a little pay-per-view. And I think they've seen success in like, you know, making special themed events, making every single edition of Dynamite seem somewhat unique and special. Certainly they have to do this because they have to sell tickets now for every event or every city. And it marks a change in philosophy, I suppose, from what you typically get on the other channel with the other company. And I would say it's worked out really well for them.
They also plugged Double or Nothing and tickets going on sale. And then we heard from Dustin Rhodes, who spoke about the 10 lashes tonight. And he tells MJF that Cody is a lot tougher than you think. And everyone is behind Cody.
He's able to just speak with so much conviction. And really, he didn't even have to say a word because just the look on his face. By the way, he didn't have any makeup on. So it was just like, you know, how old is he? 50 something?
Yeah.
Year
50.
old Dustin Rhodes. All these wrinkles on his face, bags under his eyes, just like the perfect look, I think, for a concerned brother with just this like grave, serious look of concern. It just, him staring at the camera made you want to pay attention. So I think he's so good.
MJF and Wardlow came out for the final segment, and MJF, he's just got so much charisma. Just the way he walks to the ring. Cody is out, and he removes his shirt, and MJF wants to use Cody's belt. And then the crowd starts chanting "asshole" as the censoring begins. It wasn't too bad tonight other than this.
Yeah.
Bryce Remsburg is there in the ring to properly count the number of lashes. Make sure we don't get any miscount. So MJF starts to whip him.
Yeah, I like the fact that they had an official there. You know, it made this seem like it was an actual...
They created an amazing amount of like...
This was a
like
match.
a tense feeling. This was like their uncut gems. They were designing this to make you uncomfortable.
You know, a whipping scene in movies is not like a new thing. Like, I mean, this was like, I guess, like a Passion of the Christ type of thing. Really.
All the heels are coming out, led by Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. MJF starts taunting him and is trying to get Cody to hit him when he can't. Like, MJF was awesome here. After 3 lashes, Cody goes down to a knee, and Arn Anderson runs down and he tells Cody not to give him the satisfaction of showing that it hurts.
Man, Arn was total babyface here.
He was great.
Like,
he was awesome.
Yeah, didn't see any indication of anything else.
MJF is demanding that Cody quit and therefore wouldn't be able to have the match after he goes down after the 4th. And Cody, like, just the performance of a lifetime here of how he is selling these whippings. Each one is like a gunshot that he is taking.
After the red starting to show on his back.
Yeah, totally. After the 5th, Dustin comes down. He's willing to take the final 5 lashes. I mean, this was just building the drama and the emotion of this. MJF says, that's not how this works. And Dustin just tells Cody, I love you. No one is tougher than you. He takes another one. The Young Bucks are out, and they're encouraging him. He's got 3 lashes left, and they're just trying to get Cody to be able to take 3 more, and then this nightmare is over. And then Wardlow volunteers to deliver one of the lashes, and he just brutalizes Cody with his... After 9 lashes, Brandy comes out, totally out of her American... the
Nightmare
Collective character. She is just playing herself here. She's in tears.
Yeah, we should mention over the course of the past couple of weeks on the road to, and also I guess on Dark, they've had Brandy go through those psychiatry sessions, which end up being her talking to herself. And this past week, she had a session where I guess she was. I forget, like, the result really was kind of inconclusive, but, like, I suppose it was almost like she was starting to doubt this whole Nightmare Collective thing. And beyond that, Mel and Luther turned on Awesome Kong.
And kind of wrote her out.
So she's out of, seemingly, right now, at the Nightmare Collective. So the status of the Nightmare Collective, I suppose, is somewhat in question, which I guess resulted in this.
So she is just pleading with him, just take one more, you can do it. And everyone is rallying behind Cody as he just gets to his feet with every fiber of his being, and he gets whipped across the chest. And then after he absorbs all 10, MJF kicks him in the balls, and him and Wardlow hightail it through the crowd, and Cody is left in the ring. His music plays, and they go off, where the announcers just look like they have just watched a man brutalized here. This was one of the best segments Dynamite has ever had.
Oh yeah, I completely.
This was amazing.
I completely agree. Hey, but before we get on to the finish, like, did you see like somebody was attacking MJF and Wardlow when they were up at the top of the ramp as the show went off air?
One of the fans?
I don't know, because they didn't really call attention to it. It was just like somebody in the background attacking him. So I don't know what happened. Might have been a fan. Might have been, I don't know, somebody else. It was a little bit weird to go off air that way, but I didn't know if you saw it.
I missed that part. It doesn't sound like that would have been part of the...
Yeah.
They would have called attention to it, and doesn't really make sense angle-wise.
So that was a little bit strange. But anyway, onto the angle itself. When they announced this, I was absolutely confident that they were going to do a good job. You know, just seeing everything that Cody has done. Cody has just been like... Everybody's kind of got their own style. All of the executive producers have their own style. Like the Bucks have the PWG style thing that they're trying to do for the tag team division. Moxley is like, you know, hardcore. And Cody's is...
making money.
It's making money, but it's also bringing back old school American professional wrestling. Stuff that I think his dad...
heavily emotional. Like an element of wrestling that there needs to be more of. Like that feeling of just wanting to see the babyface prevail.
If his dad was a performer today, what would professional wrestling look like? And I think this is one of those things. I was absolutely confident that he would do a good job, but I wasn't necessarily sure how well it would have worked with the modern audience, who I think at this point, like when they announced this, you knew by the end of it, you're supposed to feel sympathy for Cody. And with that, I think a modern type of level of skepticism, how much were they going to be able to like hook the crowd to actually feel sympathy for Cody? It could have been a very flat reaction, but I thought this worked really well. You know, no matter, I think, what your expectations are for the segment, after the first couple lashes, like the tone immediately kind of went from like, you know, oh my God, yeah, we're supposed to cheer, to like actual serious concern, you know, like, because you can't fake that type of pain. And I thought Cody selling was just an example of like great acting that you rarely see in professional wrestling. And MJF as this like slave driver,
he was amazing.
Like, was fucking awesome. You know, like this felt like it was a movie. It was a really well scripted angle. Every level came with like some interesting event that accompanied it. Until by the end it just kept building and building and building until you had this like really violent scene with Cody's entire family looking at him, cheering him on. I wasn't there for like, you know, the Tommy Dreamer ECW thing, nor really anything similar to this, unless you count like
Daniel Bryan
taking lashings.
He just did the whole strap match.
Oh, this was way better than that.
I'm just saying, like, of ones you're going to compare it to.
See, I wouldn't even compare like those two. This was like a different league. I was going to say Shane McMahon's balls getting shocked, but that's That's very different.
Yeah, what an emotional angle that was.
I think the closest thing, I guess, maybe to like, the professional wrestling that I might have been alive for would be the Tommy Dreamer ECW thing.
They did this with Flip Gordon not all that long ago.
Oh, yeah, you're
but
right.
Not many people saw that. Although the photo afterwards is just, it's brutal, his back afterwards.
Sure. But I certainly give them credit for attempting this on a big stage in 2020, and I absolutely applaud Cody and MJF's performances.
This was amazing. I think this was one of the best of like non-wrestling segments.
Yep.
I think it's the best one AEW's done.
Yeah, at this point, I'm trying to like think of
I go back that first promo with the Inner Circle where Jericho gets everyone over. That one was pretty great. I think this was even better. I thought this was one of the best segments like that we'll be talking about at the end of the year in terms of like angle or segment of the year. I just thought this was outstanding.
I think it's been like a good couple of weeks for angles like this, between this and I think Orton and Edge, with both of which I think you had, very high caliber acting performances from Cody and also from Orton. I really liked Dynamite tonight. I think you had solid wrestling throughout the show, great showcase for Jon Moxley at the beginning, and a really strong main event angle.
Yeah, it was tremendous to the point that if you're not putting the title on Moxley, I think you can make this the main event. Like that's how big Cody and MJF. I think they will close with Jericho and Moxley. Yeah, but I wouldn't be like this. To me, feels just as big as the title match.
Like those two matches on one show, I think is enough to carry.
Those
the whole
are your
thing.
Big money matches for the pay per view. It's going to be interesting because we saw with Full Gear, like they didn't really boost the pay-per-view number from what they had been doing pre-TNT. And with that many more weeks and months of television and some big angles, and I'm sure they're going to have some Dynamite promos, pardon the pun, in the next couple of weeks leading into it.
How many more weeks?
We got 3 episodes to go, so still a lot to do.
Cool. Like this almost felt like an angle that you used to peak, like to put on the go home show. But yeah, I'm curious to see like next week, maybe you'll just get the reveal of Cody's back, like with a week to marinate those wounds.
Yeah, don't blow that on Instagram.
Yeah,
make people tune in for that.
Yeah, I wonder. That reveal is going to be crazy. The promos will be amazing next week.
I liked the show a lot tonight. I enjoyed it. There was like a wide variety of stuff. The 8-man was very solid.
Very eventful, unlike last week, which I largely considered skippable. This week, I thought there were a lot of angles you really had to see in order to carry on the storylines.
Yeah, and we talked about like the main event going in this week was the 10 lashes and putting like a non-wrestling segment in that main event, and I think it was a great idea. I think that was big. All right, we go on over to the forum, and tonight, did you people agree or disagree? Tonight,
how many lashes out of 10?
6.63. That's not that high.
Actually, pretty low for Dynamite. Interesting.
Well, let's see what the everyone has to say. Paul from New Jersey. Although she may not be an in-ring magician, I very much enjoyed the heel work of Dr. Britt Baker. Always nice to see a Riho sighting once in a while. Good show, but something is missing for me, and I can't quite put my finger on it. 6.5.
He's also got an episode title suggestion.
Eyes and Lashes. Okay, I get it.
All right, we've already got a title, Paul. Don't you dare step on John Pollock's
Eyes and Lashes
territory.
Is not bad, though.
Hagaki says, not too sure what to think of the ending yet, other than it looked painful. Britt's match and ending was good. I like the direction they are going with her. Dark Order still has me intrigued, mostly because of the high potential for surprises. In case you didn't watch AEW Plus, the commentary really seems like they're having fun, especially during commercials, and JR seems like he's in love with Penelope Ford.
Next one here. MJF actually got attacked by a fan as they went off the air. Okay, to your observation way. That's some old school heel heat. The 8-man was crazy and furthered a storyline, and the backstage segment with Hangman and the pitcher of beer was hilarious. So I'll have to go back and look at that. I missed that part, but I would... My assumption, not having seen it, would be that it was probably a fan just getting out of control.
We got Andrew from Cape Breton who said the biggest positive AEW has over WWE is how beloved their baby faces are. And said I felt like a continuation of that with the main event angle. I didn't know what to expect from the 10 lashes angle, but with everyone coming out, it really gave you sympathy for Cody. Cody is fascinating. He's a cross between his father and Ric Flair. He's a rich, powerful babyface that everyone gets behind. It's just wild to see a company where the fans have faith in their babyfaces. I guess except in the women's division. My hope next week is that Nyla Rose wins and runs through the entire women's division until they find the right babyface to face her. Though I have a question which may be an awkward topic of discussion. Nyla still faces transphobic comments from members of the audience, and my question is, should they let Nyla cut an in-ring promo on these people or even discuss it at all? I feel Nyla probably does have a promo in her head that she would love to get out, but would it be appropriate? Part of me wants to ignore it as it shouldn't have anything to do with her character, but another wants to see a scathing promo on some of the fans. Anyway, great show, 7 out of 10.
I don't find that to be a prevalent thing at all. Like, I don't notice that.
Well,
what are we talking about? Twitter?
Online. Yeah.
Okay, on
Who
Twitter.
knows?
Well,
who knows?
You're
where,
not.
Right?
I'm not basing my television around Twitter comments.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And I don't necessarily feel like that type of promo is relevant to her heel character right now. I think, I mean, if it's something she wants to do, I mean, I could see
I think
AEW
that's such a
providing the
small
forum.
minority of the audience.
Yeah,
it's like
why even give them that power? Unless I think, and more importantly, I don't see it really working with the current character. I don't see it having sort of any point. Let's say she beats Riho, and then she cuts sort of like this, you know, I don't know, scathing criticism of her critics. Like that's, I don't know, that's a bit a weird fit to me.
Nick from Lansing, Michigan, top to bottom, what a great show. Opening was strong with Moxley and Ortiz, and ending with the big angle with MJF and Cody. With the exception of some of the between matches, picture-in-picture moments like Cody taking off his shirt, it didn't feel like a moment of TV time was wasted. Moxley feels like a serious threat to Jericho's place at the top. MJF took his time with the lashes, working the crowd the whole segment. All great stuff, but my match of the night was the 8-man tag. I can understand the criticism people might have with the confusion over the legal man on commentary, but for me, when the action is that chaotic, there's only so much control you can expect the referee to have. As long as there are no major rule violations, it doesn't bother me. People are in and out in an environment like that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Did not bother me in that particular match. I mean, it was like one of those like ape shit crazy pacings that I think you just have to turn your brain off and just enjoy the action. And I feel like especially that type of match, I have no problem with it at all.
It wasn't an issue for me in the match.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even notice if there was like improper people involved at certain points. But when you're having those 8-man spots, I mean, that's going to happen.
JR did specifically mention how in AEW wrestlers have 10 seconds to after a tag with which to get out of the ring. So I don't know if they abided by that throughout that entire match.
I think that one was broken a few times.
Maybe. Anyway, Noah from Vaughn. I thought tonight's show was another very strong addition for a show that has really hit its stride in the new year. I loved how they set up matches for each of the coming 3 weeks leading up to the Revolution. The way they have been building up Moxley for this title match has been phenomenal. And kudos to Santana with a very good promo setting up their match for next week. 8.5 out of 10 show from me.
Okay, Jay from Colorado. Jericho flying off the handle about Moxley doing something that Jericho himself did weeks earlier is a fantastic heel move. He's simply the best heel in the business. That bump Riho took off the table looked rough. I've heard that it hurts more if they don't break. Not sure if there's any truth to that. Well, go through a table and find out.
I would imagine, because there's no give.
No. Hangman manifesting a pitcher of beer out of thin air might be my favorite thing to have happened in wrestling in 2020. And I wasn't too into the 10 lashes with the belt. Have you ever been hit with a belt like that? I haven't. Don't plan to either. Thank you, Jay.
Got a Raven from Sacramento who says, the lashing whipping segment was the second time this week that I've gotten emotional watching sports. For Cody to take 9 lashes and then have Brandy, normal, non-Nightmare Collective loving wife Brandy, coming down teary-eyed, got me. Doing it with no entrance music put all the emotion on the visuals and acting.
Oh, that would have been so goofy if she came out to her theme song.
No, absolutely. In fact, like, part of me feels like I would have liked if there was no commentary either. Like if they just completely stripped it bare and raw.
You could have just been silent.
Yeah.
Like they're stunned as well, like the audience.
Raymond says she grabbed Cody's hand, said one more, and MJF hit him on the dream tattoo. Perfect stuff. I didn't even notice that. I've probably never been a bigger fan of Cody's than I am right now.
Okay, and Gerard writes, I can't believe it, but it looks like Britt Baker has regressed as a wrestler. She couldn't take several moves properly, and even a great wrestler like Yuka Sakazaki couldn't make her look good. I know there will be those who like the final segment with the lashes, and while I thought MJF looked great, having so many different people walk down to the ring made it feel way too melodramatic for me to really like the whole segment. The whole thing that really interested me on the show was the further development of the Hangman Page storyline.
Gerard's reaction is like something I feel like they were certainly risking, when doing an angle like this that kind of like from the get-go demanded the fans to feel sorry for your babyface. And I think, any over-performance would have turned it into something that was too much.
It comes down to the people executing it, but I think fans often aren't given enough credit for how they will get into stuff like that. Like if you laid out to me the finishing sequence of Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair.
Yeah. Sure.
I would have been like, are you out of your mind? That is so hokey. But look how that's one of the most fondly remembered moments of the last 20 years.
That absolutely felt real because you knew it was Flair's retirement. Conversely, like I think back to this Lacey Evans current babyface push where it's just like, on paper, you would think that it would work, but I think in execution, it's so forced and I think so manipulative that I think fans see through it.
Yeah, I just thought this last segment it worked so well. I think people were, the very least, they could like this was not some contrived wrestling angle. Like this is something that people can either relate to or at least see the. I thought Cody was fantastic in conveying the pain, and it worked really, really well. I did not find this melodramatic at all. I thought it just built and had it was high drama by the end of it.
Finally, Alex. Oh, is that me or you?
You're up, I believe.
Finally, Alex says, not a good show overall. The lashes were interesting, very brutal, but maybe a bit too over the top. Completely worthless Britt match. She's actually worse than before if that was possible. Nyla sucks, and now we have to watch her wrestle Riho. Hangman stuff was great, and Mox stuff was good. Overall, I thought the show was mediocre at best.
Well, there you go.
See, I totally disagree about Britt Baker. I think she's looked improved, or at least more than passable to me, in my opinion. In fact, I kind of felt like
it was a 3-minute match.
I kind of felt like Sakazaki looked to be somewhat the weaker one, but I don't know, people are going to probably disagree with that.
Well, that's what everyone's out there to do, to disagree. That's fine. But yeah, I thought a really strong episode of Dynamite tonight, an outstanding angle to close the show. That was the high point. I think they're doing a fantastic job on the Jericho Moxley front. Mm-hmm. I think this pay-per-view feels it feels like a show they've been building for months, which they have, and you've known the direction, and now you're at that sweet spot where you're just peaking in a couple of weeks, and everything's really firing on all cylinders for the major programs.
The next 3 weeks are going to be crucial. Can they maintain this momentum and even build on it? What other kind of new wrinkles can they add to these programs that are already, I would say, pretty hot?
Yeah, I think Cody in that cage match with Wardlow in Atlanta, I think that should be a phenomenal scene as well. Yeah. And then the following week, I want to get big promos from Moxley, from Cody. I think that final show could have some tremendous segments.
What else is going to be on that card?
Let's pull up the card here because we know we're getting that tag match after the Battle Royal in a couple of weeks. But beyond that,
nothing officially announced, right?
Yeah, I think we only have the 2 matches officially, and then the tag title match. So probably you would think maybe Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara get in there. Right. Something with the women's title.
Yeah. Could be Nyla, could be Riho. We don't know.
Yeah. I would be surprised if they flip the title next week.
You think so?
I would be surprised if they flipped it. I think they'd keep it with Rio, but we'll find out. We'll see. So that's it, everybody. We're going to be back on Thursday. Cafe Hangout is coming at you 3 p.m. Eastern Time, live for all patrons. Brandon Thurston will be on the show. We're going to go through all of the fourth quarter earnings report and year-end figures, as well as the investors call, which is going to be something else. What are the promos going to be like on that call?
Oh, I'll be very interested. Yeah. Will Vince make an appearance? You would think so in a situation like this, How
many lashes is Vince going to take on that call?
Yeah, I don't know. Hit *5 to deliver a lash. Anyway, yeah, it's a big day.
It is a very big day.
Yeah,
for them.
And I think we'll be putting audio of the call, if we are able to get a copy of it, onto the cafe feed. So if you're a patron, you can just refresh your feeds whenever we get that, and you can listen to it for yourself before or sometime before we do the hangout. Other than that, you can probably stream it yourself too, can't you? From WWE.
I think if you sign up for an account,
it's available somewhere.
Yeah. So we'll have lots of coverage on the site tomorrow. So keep it check out postwrestling.com for all the breakdowns and shows that we'll have out tomorrow. And then Friday night, Rewind a SmackDown with Wai Ting, a fireside review with Wai Ting, his final night in his current home.
Yeah.
Before he leaves, and he's spending it with all of you.
Will be an empty room. It'll just be you and me. SmackDown.
Sounds like a wonderful night, a Friday night with Wai Ting. All right, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Go check out Up Next, and we'll speak with you Thursday on The Hangout.